XRP recently jumped back into the top 100, and this is not the top 100 crypto assets. No, this is the global assets by market cap list, and XRP has now hit the number 99th spot with a market cap of over $181 plus billion. This is above HDFC Bank, and we are now just trading slightly under Citigroup, which is pretty interesting to see. Now, again, towards the end of the cycle, I suspect that XRP will most likely be into roughly like the top 80, top 70 point of this chart. Again, it goes without question that we still need to, see a little bit more action in this market to get too crazy about XRP right now, but I just think that XRP at some point in time is going to be an extremely valuable asset. I've always talked about, $1 trillion plus market caps for a lot of these utility-based projects. I still believe that because, again, look at how much money is going to be tokenized. Look at how much adoption is happening around stablecoin initiatives. Think about what all of the banks are telling us. Think about what all of the governments are telling us. It feels as if we are in this like crazy time period for crypto where we're on just like the cusp of mass adoption of this technology. And that's going to cause these altcoins like XRP and HBAR and XLM and Algorand, all of these great projects that have so much utility behind them, it's going to cause them to go absolutely insane in value. So when we think about that, I do think that this is great to see. However, it is just the beginning. Now, let's go over here to this post. So if you guys did watch my video from the other day, then you know that we talked a little bit about the SEC delaying the decision on Franklin Templeton's XRP and Solana ETFs, now with a new deadline set for November 14th. Now, a lot of people have been getting a little bit, I want to say, dramatic about this because we've been hearing a lot of talks about, oh, the SEC is back on delaying XRP and suppressing XRP. They're going to keep this down. They're not going to let XRP have an ETF because of this, that, whatever. This is just one small delay, and it's by like roughly like 20 some days. I don't think that we're in that phase of the cycle still where the SEC is going after Ripple and XRP, and they want XRP to be suppressed. They don't want XRP to see significant growth or anything like that. No, I just think that this is a good sign, actually. I think that this is showing us that the SEC is getting close to approving these ETFs. They're in the planning phase right now around altcoin ETFs. It would surprise me if there wasn't any delay or any update around these ETFs. So the fact that we're simply just seeing updates right now around these ETFs tells us that, guess what? They're on the ball with this. They're looking into these ETFs and they are trying to go throughout the process to either one, approve them or deny them. So this is very good news in disguise of, bad news. Now, outside of this, we also did get an update on an ETF going live today. That's right, today. By the time that this video goes live, this will already have been, live. But we have here from Good Morning Crypto, breaking first spot XRP ETF goes live tomorrow, today. The Rex Osprey spot XRP ETF is indeed set to launch on September 12th, 2025, marking a significant milestone as the first spot XRP exchange traded fund in the US SEC completed its 75-day review period without objections, allowing the fund to move forward under the Investment Company Act of 1940. This ETF, which directly holds XRP tokens rather than futures contracts, aims to provide retail and institutional investors with regulated exposure to XRP through traditional brokerage accounts, simplifying access without the need for crypto wallets or exchanges. Now, this also led to a lot of drama because a lot of people don't understand if this is a spot or not ETF. For an example, here we have, honestly, you guys are awesome, but I don't know why you keep posting things like this that aren't true. Because if we look here, just asking AI, both of them asked AI. This one came back as, no, it's not a spot ETF. But this one said, yeah, it is a spot ETF. It feels as if this is a very confusing ETF. And over here we have from Crypto Airy, Rex Osprey XRP ETF spot or not, partially a spot fund holding actual XRP directly. This is going to be greater than or equal to 80% of assets plus borrowings for exposure. It also invests via the Cayman subsidiary directly, which is also less than 25% assets for RIC tax compliance. Remainder US Treasuries, money market funds, cash equivalents, supplements, XRP futures and swaps, replicating ETFs, or Bitcoin/Ethereum ETPs. per market conditions. So although, yeah, it is a spot ETF, it's kind of like a mix, right? So it's not a full-on spot ETF. And also, by the way, Rex Osprey, this is a very small fund. Like, I think that they only have about like 200 some $1 million in assets under management. So this isn't like a well-known name, a big name. So I'm not expecting anything significant from this. Obviously, I'd love to be wrong, but I'm not expecting this to be like a massive announcement for XRP. But hey, it is still an ETF. It's still a spot-based ETF by just the exposure here. It's mainly in a spot ETF. So this is a very good sign of what's happening around XRP. And I also think that this is just another one of those updates around these ETFs that shows us and gives the market information and data to go off of to really see the demand around these ETF products. Now, on top of that, if we go back to the ETF tracker, we know that coming up, we do have a ton of updates regarding spot ETFs for XRP. You can really kind of take Franklin Templeton off this list because it did get delayed. But we do look into the October timeframe as a very significant timeframe for XRP, just going off of this chart alone, but also going off of some of the additional updates we are going to get going into October, and then also in the month of October, like for an example, the second Fed rate cut decision of this year. But also, we are probably going to see a lot of big updates, not just from the ETF side of things, but also from institutional players. Also, October is going to be preparing us for Ripple Swell in November. So I do suspect that October, November is going to be a very good time for XRP holders. Now, beyond that, we also have this update from Jungle Inc. XRP. What happens when XRP gets its ETF? If a spot XRP ETF is approved, institutional capital won't just give Wall Street exposure, it could fundamentally change XRP's market behavior. Look at what happened to Bitcoin after the launch of IBIT, BlackRock's ETF. Bitcoin price in yellow is still volatile, but IBIT's assets under management, red, kept climbing, even during every dip. That means institutional players kept buying the dip, steadily building positions instead of panic selling. The result? Bitcoin drawdowns have been much shallower than past cycles, no negative 50% collapses. A constant inflow of capital has created a structural bid under Bitcoin. Institutional demand has reshaped Bitcoin into a more mature, stable asset class. Now imagine XRP with the same tailwind. Every dip met with institutional inflows. Sticky capital that accumulates for the long term instead of fleeing at volatility. A new floor for XRP's price and a shift from hype-driven cycles to sustainable Wall Street-backed growth. Bitcoin ETF's launch didn't just unlock demand, it transformed the market. An XRP ETF could do the same, rewriting the playbook for XRP's future. Bottom line, XRP has already proven retail stay in power. Add institutional flows and the story changes completely. And I do agree for, the most part. I still think that it doesn't really matter if we have an ETF or if we have Wall Street buying up the dips every single time that we see one. I don't think that that's going to really persuade the market away from a bear market potentially happening again or a significant pullback happening again. However, this is going to be something that, in my opinion, will affect the value of XRP significantly. I think that we will see a stronger base around XRP. I think that we will start to see a lot more growth around XRP. I think that the demand will be significant for XRP, which will lead to supply and demand situations where there's not I don't want to say like there's no XRP left on exchanges or anything like that, but it could definitely affect the value significantly going off of the retail demand of XRP combined with institutional demand of XRP as well. Because again, you kind of have XRP buying coming from multiple directions of just those individuals buying XRP on Coinbase and Uphold and crypto exchanges itself, trading XRP on those platforms as well, and then also the DEX on XRP. So now you have two areas of opportunity where XRP is starting to get bought up, but then you also mix in Wall Street with ETFs, and you could start to kind of see a much larger market brewing around XRP outside of just your normal centralized exchange and decentralized exchange buying demand of XRP. So this is why ETFs are so big. Now, talking about that, we also have treasury companies, right? As of now, there are 10 publicly announced XRP treasury companies. Here are all of those companies. This is still a pretty significant amount of money. I mean, we're talking about over $1+ billion roughly. And if we're thinking about that combined with what I just went over, yeah, the supply of XRP can diminish greatly once we start to see these ETFs getting approved. Now, the biggest thing that we got earlier today or yesterday did pertain back to the DTCC. I want to bring this up because I want to go back in time. I want to go back in time to 2023, October 23rd, 2023. Why? Because BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF appeared on the DTCC website with the ticker iBitcoin. Now, this didn't mean much at all. In fact, it took another roughly 3 months to see the first BlackRock spot ETF. You know, this is the first Bitcoin ETF trading live. And again, if we're thinking about this, 3 months from today, 3 months would mean about December. I'm talking about this because if we go over here, we could see that Bitcoin ETFs officially went live on January 11th, 2024. We just got this update. Justin, the DTCC list Fidelity Solana ETF and Canary's XRP ETF. This is very important because they also did the same with Bitcoin ETFs 3 months prior to the Bitcoin ETFs getting approval. This tells us that an XRP ETF could be hitting the market before the end of the year. We have over here from Subjective Views, the DTCC acts as a central clearinghouse and depository. They ensure that transactions are processed efficiently and securely. When the DTCC lists an ETF, it means the ETF has been added to the DTCC's infrastructure, which is a critical part of the US post-trade financial services ecosystem. The plumbing is being laid. And yes, this is very, very important to focus on. Now, Nate Garalshi did say, PSA, the DTCC listing Fidelity Solana ETF and Canary XRP and HBAR ETFs doesn't mean anything from a regulatory standpoint. It's all on the SEC. Now, I do agree completely. However, I still go back to the Bitcoin ETF, and I do think that this is a signal that an XRP ETF is going to be trading live. Listen, if we have to wait 3 months, I'm fine with it. But I don't think that it is a coincidence that we are getting this combined with the idea that almost all of these deadlines are coming up in October. And also at the same exact time that we just got a delay on the Franklin Templeton ETF. And also at the same exact time that we get the first spot XRP ETF going live. It kind of feels as if all of the puzzle pieces are falling into place around an XRP ETF getting approved in the US. And by the way, I've always said all it takes is one, and we will see every single one of these getting approved as well. And that's what we are waiting for, the tsunami of Wall Street capital into XRP. I do agree with a lot of individuals out there because I have been reading up on the ETF side of XRP. A lot of people have been saying that XRP does have the potential to rally against Ethereum ETFs. I do think that it is true, especially at this point in this market where we have the SEC case put behind us. We have institutional grade adoption heating up. We have major announcements coming from Ripple as well. It kind of feels as if the entire environment around XRP is 10 times more bullish than ever before. So I do agree with those individuals that, think that XRP ETFs could challenge Ethereum ETFs. I do think that it is possible as well, which is why we are so hyper focused on, approval of any one of these ETFs. These are the big ones to focus on. I still think that the Rex Osprey one isn't that significant. I'd love to be wrong, but these are the ones that I'm focused on. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because I'm a free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.